From the PEP Radio Newsroom, these are the stories we are following at this hour. Debate is underway in the Senate for an all-night session Sunday, with Republicans wrestling with President Donald Trump's big bill of tax breaks and spending cuts over mounting Democratic opposition and even some brake pumping over the budget slashing by the president himself. The outcome from the weekend of work in the Senate remains uncertain and highly volatile, and overnight voting has been pushed off until Monday. GOP leaders are rushing to meet Trump's 4th of July deadline to pass the package, but they barely secured enough support to muscle it past a procedural Saturday night hurdle in a tense scene. A handful of Republican holdouts revolted, and it took phone calls from Donald Trump and a visit from Vice President J.D. Vance to keep it on track. GOP Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina announced Sunday he would not be seeking re-election after Trump badgered him for saying he could not vote for the bill with its steep Medicaid cuts. A new analysis from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office found that 11.8 million more Americans would become uninsured by 2034 if the bill became a law. It also said the package would increase the deficit by nearly $3.3 trillion over the decade. But other Senate Republicans, along with conservatives in the House, are pushing for steeper cuts, particularly to health care, drawing their own unexpected warning from Trump. Don't go too crazy, the president posted on social media. Remember, you still have to get reelected. We have this news from Idaho. 2 firefighters were killed Sunday and another was wounded when they were ambushed by sniper fire while responding to a blaze in a northern Idaho mountain community. As crews endured a barrage of gunfire over several hours that the governor called a heinous assault, no arrests were announced. We can report, however, that sheriff's deputies in Kootenai County, Idaho, did find a deceased person, and there was a firearm nearby. And at this time, they have lifted the the shelter-in-place order that had been announced. The Kootenai County Sheriff's Office said crews responded to a fire at Canfield Mountain just north of Coeur d'Alene around 1:30 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, and gunshots were reported about a half an hour later. Sheriff Bob Norris said officials weren't immediately sure how many people were shot. We don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties there are. Norris told reporters this afternoon at a news conference, "We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak." Again, that all happened earlier today prior to them announcing that the suspected gunman has perished. People were still coming off the mountain in the late afternoon, the sheriff said, so it would be safe to assume that others were still up there. 3 victims were brought to Kootenai Health, said hospital spokesperson Kim Anderson. 2 were dead on arrival, and the third was being treated for injuries, Anderson said. The wounded firefighter's condition wasn't known. Governor Brad Little said multiple firefighting personnel were attacked. This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families as we wait to learn more. Governor Little wrote that on X. Norris said it appeared the sniper was hiding in the rugged terrain and using a high-powered rifle. He said he instructed deputies to fire back. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they're not, at this point in time, showing any evidence of wanting to surrender, the sheriff said. An alert by the Kootenai County Emergency Management Office asked people to avoid the area around Canfield Mountain Trailhead and Nettleton Gulch Road, about 4 miles north of the downtown area in Coeur d'Alene. The fire was still active, Norris said. It's going to keep burning. He said, can't put any resources on it right now. And finally, this news from Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said late Sunday that trade talks with the United States have resumed after Canada rescinded its plan to tax U.S. technology firms. U.S. President Donald Trump said Friday that he was suspending trade talks with Canada over its plans to continue with its tax on technology firms, which he called a direct and blatant attack on our country. The Canadian government said in anticipation of a trade deal, Canada would rescind the digital serves tax. The tax was set to go into effect Monday. Carney's office said Carney and Trump have agreed to resume negotiations. Today's announcement will support a resumption of negotiations toward the July 21st, 2025 timeline set out at this month's G7 Leaders Summit in Kananaskis, Carney said in a statement. Carney visited Trump in May at the White House, where he was polite but firm. Trump traveled to Canada for the G7 summit in Alberta, where Carney said that Canada and the U.S. had set a 30-day deadline for trade talks. That's the news at this hour. If you are watching our news and other videos on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Download the Live 365 app to take us with you wherever you go. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.